It's the Nice Guys on Business.
You know what? These iPhones, I do love them, but mine has been rebooting since the latest iOS update.
No, I got too many things going on today. I don't want an update right now.
They're wanted in 45 states, not wanted in the other 5. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey, Nice Guy community, welcome back, welcome back. It is January the 2nd. It is a new year. Happy New Year, Doug. It's
wow.
Mr. Doug Sandler on the other side of the microphone.
January 2nd, 2017. Did we reach all of our goals yet? Because frankly, I'm exhausted.
We're going to talk about our goals tomorrow, actually, on our show, and the stuff that we're going to be working on for the new year.
So who was interviewed today? Ryan Ayres?
Ryan Ayres. You know, you interviewed him before, and for some reason, he came back and would talk to you again.
Well, it's always unusual when we have people that want to come back. That means we're doing. The first time he came on the show, which was probably over a year ago.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to look it up now because you're right, it was.
Yeah. Well, when Ryan came on the show the first time, I think we had 12 listeners, and now that we have 14 listeners, he wants to capture those other 2.
Episode 168. So that was back in like June. That was 100 episodes ago. That's crazy.
That is a long time ago. 2017 is going to be ridiculous. We're going to knock out something like 250 episodes this year.
You know, it is crazy because I look at this. It was 168, right? So he was actually 120 episodes ago, but that was only 6 months ago. That's kind of crazy that we're doing 120 episodes every 6 months. We're cranking out 200 plus episodes a year. We're insane. What the hell are we thinking?
I don't know. When will the insanity end? Maybe never. Anyway, Ryan owns a company called Focus 53. He also has a podcast called the Focus 53 Podcast. You'll get to know what the name means and what it's all about if you listen to today's show. Also, if you haven't had a chance to tune into his episode or his podcast, make sure you do that. Hey, just in case, I know you're listening, and many of you, 93% statistically, are listening to us on Overcast. Hit the cover art. Right behind the cover art, there's a little recommend button. If you'll just click on that, a little gold, I think it's a gold star. I love my gold stars. When I was young, okay, so I'm going to reveal a little bit of information here. I was a bedwetter.
Okay. A little more information than we needed to know, but thank you for your transparency, Doug.
I was. And I was the gold star. I would always go for the gold star thing. You know, for me, my mom put together a chart. I don't know. Maybe it's because my parents were divorced. I was looking for attention. I don't know. So somewhere around 27, I think I stopped.
Okay, then.
No. Hey, listen, if we have any bedwetters that are in the audience in our Nice Guy community, I relate. I understand what you're going through. I mean, I was, I think, 6. How old is one typically when one goes through that phase in their life?
It's been a long time, Doug. I don't know. I would have to say up till 4 or 5 years old, maybe.
Maybe? I think I was older than that. I don't think I was older than 10.
Okay.
Wonder why. I have to do some research on this. We've never talked about this.
Do we need to do some research on this, Doug? Do we really need to do some research on this?
What's today's show? We're
going to introduce Ryan Ayres. He actually, he does business coaching, and it's like 2 levels of business coaching. He can do your full blown high impact business coaching, but also he offers a service that's like a virtual COO for business people who maybe have started a company and you're running it, but you realize that, what you started doing, you just don't really have your shit together, and you can't, it's a different level now, and you need more help. And he's great with this when you don't want to hire a full-time guy to be a COO.
I'm just curious how we're going to bridge the distance between Ryan Ayres and bedwetting.
That's what I'm trying. I'm trying very hard to make a segue here and focus us back on Ryan and away from bedwetting. And you know Ryan better than me because you've interviewed him twice now, but I hope he's not going to be offended by the whole bedwetting comments.
He's going to probably be laughing. He's going to probably pee his pants.
Okay.
There's the connection. There it is. I made it for you right there.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's great. All right, so Ryan Ayres, Focus 53. We spend an enormous amount of time talking about the reason why people are successful, how essential that is as a part of growing your business, how understanding it's going on those 6 inches between your ears, how essential that is to get a grasp of exactly what your life is all about in order to move forward. We spend a lot of time talking about just everything and nothing, and his business about coaching and consulting is amazing. He's got a lot of very high value clients, and he knows what he's doing. He's got his shit together. So let's get to the interview with Ryan Ayres. Hey, Nice Guy community. This is Doug Sandler, and second time interviewee, first time listener. I don't know how does that work? First time. Hold on a second. First time caller. Wait a minute. How's that work, Ryan? Any idea? Any idea what I'm even talking about?
Long time listener, first time caller.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. Wait a minute. Hold on a sec. Let me get the bell for that. You definitely earned the bell on that. Long-time listener, second-time interviewee, Ryan Ayres from the Focus 53 podcast. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Once again, my brother, how are you?
Doug, it is so good to hear your voice. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So let's see. When last I'll actually even give you bigger, more powerful credit. Do you even remember the episode number that you appeared on last time?
I do not, but I know it was mid-July when we talked. Now, I know that you record and release at different dates, but I'm not really sure I remember the number, no.
That's okay. That just shows to what level of importance and priority we actually fall into everybody's life, but it's pretty typical. I couldn't even tell you any of the episode numbers either, even the biggies like you, Ryan. So let's see, it was about 5 months ago, so it was probably, and we do 20, it was probably about 100 episodes ago at this point. So a lot has changed in your life over the last 5 or 6 months, or more business as usual, or what's been going on? All fun stuff?
Life's been great, yeah. So it's more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. So trying to swap out good for great, in whatever form that looks like to me, whether it's relationships or work or the type of things I'm pursuing. So yeah, that's really just a big focus, and it's just more of the same. In football, we used to call it keep on keeping on, right? Like you just never letting off and always moving forward.
Now, as a Grateful Dead fan, I used to just call it keep on trucking, and that's exactly just probably lit up another joint or something at that point. At that point, I don't know. My college days were far behind me, and I don't really recall much about them other than just having a really good time and trying to get through it. It seems like, and we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-interview here, or pre-conversation, the 5 seconds before I said, hey, can I just hit record, because I don't want to give away all this good stuff just to you and I. Let's let the Nice Guy community in on it. Whatever happened to the days, period, ... or however we say it? What did you say? $3 in your pocket so you could go to Taco Bell? Is that what you said?
That's right. Yeah. Taco Bell and have enough money for a beer cup at the party, right? Like that was all you really needed to be content for a whole weekend. It's fascinating. It's so against the responsibilities we have nowadays. And I think we're on the opposite side of where we should be going. We should be getting more to the $3 in a pocket, and that's contentment.
Well, you look back at it, and yeah, college was great, and finding those extra couple of bucks for a beer run or for a Taco Bell run, that was always good. But was it because we didn't have the big dreams back in college? I mean, Nice Guy community who was listening out there, many of you may be just getting out of college or in the workforce and just trying to figure out how to get back to even. And sometimes we plant in our own way the obstacles in our life, and sometimes we're our own worst enemies when it comes to goal setting and the things that we want to achieve. Maybe we need to get back to just a mindset of things are a little bit more simple if you just, I mean, I don't know what today's version of $3 in your pocket and enough money to go to Taco Bell. Does that mean paying your bills? Does it mean going on vacation? What does it mean? Because you deal with clients all the time, Ryan, that have this, they aspire to greater things. What typically are goals that people are shooting for in the course of their lives? And I know that's a broad brush stroke right there.
That's such a good question. So I would say the first part of this, we did have goals when we were in college, and our goal was to have $3 or $4 in our pocket and go hang around people, right? Like we were meeting our goals. That's what we were doing. And I would think the equivalent of that today, sort of what I was getting to, is that we're missing a lot of that. We're focusing too much time and energy on the things that just aren't important. And the $3 in our pocket was important back then, and whatever that looks like right now. So for a lot of business owners, it's really not focusing on what's important to them and what they really need to be successful. They're more, it's election season right now as we record this. They're spend more time posting things on Facebooks about the elections that they frankly have little control over versus business development, for example. So I think your answer is you're absolutely right. The goal setting, and I think people just get hung up in this concept of goal setting. They think it has to be this like big giant, I'm going to conquer the universe, be the next Elon Musk concept in their head.
Yeah.
And the reality is it's, how am I going to make tomorrow and today better than yesterday? And what's my intentional step in that direction to be successful? And what does that translate into the actions I take every minute of the day? And it's that simple. And it's not like go conquer the world. I want to be, when we were out rolling around, I didn't care to have $100 in my pocket. I just wanted $3 so I can get some Taco Bell. I can go to the party.
Coming back to the Taco Bell.
Back to the Taco, yeah. And my, $1 cup from a party, that's what I needed to be successful for the goals I had then. I think we get hung up on big mime goals.
And what's coincidental about what you're just saying, and I don't think that you have pre edited or pre-reviewed my blog this week, but Nice Guy Community, if you are listening to the show, and I don't have the exact air date of the show as we're recording it, but as you look back to maybe some of the blogs, and I'll post it in the show notes, on November 6th, I wrote a blog, If a Picture's Worth 1,000 Words, and on that blog, I listed 3 pictures because I felt like in this particular week, the pictures were a greater representation than the words that I could have written. And you just touched on, Ryan, something that's really cool because it is something that I hit on my blog as well. It's a Venn diagram, and in one of the circles it talks about what I can control. And in the other circle, because there's 2 circles in this Venn diagram, the other circle, it is what matters. And the intersection of those areas between what I can control and what matters, that intersecting portion of the circles is the area where you should really focus your goals and focus what your life is really leading to. Because oftentimes we work so hard at outlining and coming up with ideas of things that we can't control and things that don't. It's not that the election really doesn't matter, but there's only a certain amount of control that you're going to have over the election. And if you're all consumed, and many people reaching this last couple of days, election day is tomorrow, as of, again, the air date of this interview, we'll have a whole new president in process and in place. But we have so limited control of other people's behavior, and just us bashing for the sake of bashing, or bashing for the sake of just hearing ourselves talk, sometimes that it just isn't the way to go. Can you spend a couple of minutes just talking about that focus area on what we can focus on? Because I know you work a lot with goal setting with your clients.
Yeah, so the focus area for me, that's the big thing, and that's my business and podcast is Focus 53, and the reason is because I think everything comes down to that. So I played a lot of sports when I was a kid, and fairly competitive in the football sense. And we learned pretty early, like, worry about yourself and the focus on the things you can control. And that isn't the weather. That isn't the other team to a certain extent. That isn't the referees. That isn't the type of grass we're playing on. That isn't all these other things, right? You just focus on the things that you can literally control. And so for me, it's been very natural to pursue that and keep that in my thoughts as I've just grown up. It's just very normal to me. And as I work with business owners or ex-athletes, they just aren't applying that. So they lose the focus on what matters and what they can control. And I've seen your Venn diagram here. That is so true. And you have it depicted, it's about a third or something to that close. And the people we work with oftentimes are,
it's even more polarized than that.
Exactly. 2% is in the focus area. They're so worried about things that they can't control or they can't modify. And then they're also worried about things that don't really matter in the sense of their business. So one of the very first things I do with someone when they seem to have a lack of focus, or they even admit it, they're like, I can't focus. Mm-hmm. I'll ask them the last 7 days, just real quickly jot down what you've been doing, like literally what you've been doing, and put some rough times to it. And then we look back and review it. I'm like, this explains why you're not focused.
Right.
The things you are doing doesn't align with what you want to focus on. And
so is that where you would start with anybody? You know, Nice Guy community likes to put things into action fairly quickly, and I've gotten a lot of feedback where listeners have said, "Hey, we love the theory stuff, but can you really help us focus on what do we need to do in order to progress further than where we are right now? How do we get off stuck?" So is the first thing that you do with someone is just say, hey, write down what you've done over the last few days?
That's usually the second thing. So the first thing is, where do you want to go? And so by that, by way of example, I'm working with a lady who migrated here from Russia. She knew she wanted to come to the U.S. to escape whatever she had going on in Russia, but she ended up in L.A. And so by way of example, where is your USA? Where do you want to go? You don't need to be so focused as I'm going to be in LA in this street, in this neighborhood, right? So where is your USA? What's your high level goal? What's your North Star? Whatever you want to use for an analogy there. And then compare that to literally sit back the last 7 days. And it's really good when it's on surprise, right? So they don't have a chance to modify their behavior for 7 days, right? Like,
right.
Go back the last 7 days and literally write it down and be honest with yourself and be honest with me, and we'll go through it. And at the end of it, you'll find, just like your Venn diagram, you'll find 5% of their time is in this focus area, right? And that's where you either visually see it or there's just a misalignment. And just to be very clear, Doug, I have this problem as well.
Yeah, and I think
this is everybody. This is
everybody. Right. Yeah. I agree. This is where everybody is. So I guess what I try to do in the course of my day is I try to remind myself what are the half dozen things, or what are the far off things, those pie in the sky goals that I'm trying to achieve. And I have a tough time staying, even if I have something as my goal today, let's say the goal is I want to make X amount of dollars as a professional speaker, or I want to do X amount of speaking jobs, or I want to fine tune my message. Sometimes I find that I get distracted from my message because a different project or something new comes up. How do you stop yourself from getting so distracted?
It's tough. So for me, I definitely have that, right? I own a web design company, and I have coaching and consulting, and I do. And by the way, I still have to find new customers or attract new customers or bring them. So I do it really simply. I find 2 or 3 big dominoes that I know if I tip those over every single day, they will set me on the path of success, the best path of success. And for me, they're my 3 F's: faith, family, and fitness. If I take care of those 3 things in the morning, then I'm able to, for some reason, focus on the things that are most important to me. So I break my day down into 2 days, really.
And before you even move on to the what your 2 days are, just help me for a second, because as a guy that's just looking at this from an outsider's angle and saying, okay, faith, family, and what did you say? Faith, family, and
fitness. Faith,
family, and fitness. And I look at that immediately and just say, well, where's my business in there?
That's right. So for me, and I find with a lot of people, when they take care of the things, those are the reason those are my big dominoes. Those are the most important things in my life. Mm-hmm. When I take care of and tip those over, they also force me to use my time for those. But then the time I have left over, I know I have to be hyper focused. So I just don't have time for the crap, frankly. Okay. And I don't get myself mixed up in the garbage, the Facebooks, the TV, the political ads, or whatever it is, because I know I have to move my business forward. And for the rest of that time, it's in 2 categories. I'm either creating clients or I'm coaching and consulting clients, and that's it. And that's what my focus is. I break it down into 2 things, and that's what I divide my day in.
All right, so share an insider tip for me, and let me just use me as the example, because I guess it's the easiest way for me to try to figure out how to get around what I'm doing potentially wrong with my daily activities. Let's say that podcasting and making my podcast reach a greater audience is one of the goals that I have for my podcasting side of my life. How do I get away from so much of the noise that's created within this podcasting environment. And anybody can put themselves into a situation. Just substitute your industry for the word podcast. I look for podcast guests all the time, and I have to literally block out 95% of the people that are approaching this podcast. But that takes a considerable amount of time for me to do that. So how do I keep podcasting and increasing my audience and increasing my reach? How do I keep that in focus while taking out of the focus all of the crap that comes into my life as a result of having this podcast? Not in a bad way. It's noise. I have to get rid of that noise.
Yeah, I think you answered your own question. It's noise, and someone else should be doing the noise part for you. Right?
No budget for noise control. I don't have any budget for noise control.
That's really where it boils down to, right? Like and I'm a big bootstrapping guy, mind you, so I don't subscribe to the outsource your life thing because it's just not practical.
It's not
right?
practical for me either, right?
It's not practical for most people that are starting up. It's not most practical for businesses that are running lean. You just can't afford to outsource $500 a month in whatever it looks like for staff.
Right.
So for me, it's becoming very intentional, and it sounds like for you in the podcasting space, and this would be the same thing, right? Insert any business.
Right.
You have to know what the big levers and triggers are that help you be successful. And if you know sending out an email to your list to quote unquote get new guests, then you have to basically file through resumes and the noise that comes back with it, right? That's where I'm going with this.
Right.
After you've done it the second or third time, figuring out some process or system or
it's almost like I need a qualifier, info sheet to go out to them saying if you don't qualify for these 6 levels or this thing, then no need to apply. I hate to say it, but it's like, okay, we get a lot of people, first time business owner, been in business for a year, and I have a lot to tell people. Well, honestly, I'm not sure my audience wants to take a lesson from somebody that's been in business for a year, even if you're ultra successful, because how relatable is that?
Yeah, so you had mentioned insert whatever business you want here, and I'll use mine as an example. I am very clear about this on my website, and even when someone reaches out to me via hearing me on a podcast or run into a thing, I have them go to my website all the time because that's where I want them to funnel. But I have very specific who coaching and consulting is for with me and who it is not for. And if they can't make it past these things, and most of the time people are fairly respectful of like, hey, did you check out the website? Yeah, I did. I know they went through that, and I know they pinged some of it. And I'm very clear about who I will work with, the type of mindset I work with. Like I work with victors, champions, not victims that are, needing therapy, right? I work with people that are ready to change how they view things, not the people that are, hey, I'm stuck in my ways. And I suspect there's a list of those 5 to 10 things you could come up with.
Yeah.
That says, I love you still, but don't bother because this is the type of person I'm working with, and these are the type of people I'm not working with. And please respect that because we want to have a high quality show or whatever that looks like for you. But this makes a big difference. I'm to the point where I'm very clear about cost even. And that's a big deal in my space, right? People are very conscious aware, but I tell them flat out, this is an investment. And if they make it to me and I get to me, then an investment is a different terminology or different dollar amount for each person, but at least they know it's not $5 an hour and we're just having a cool conversation, right? Like they are aware of all these parameters by which we can operate. And I suspect you could probably do something similar to help, again, bury the noise or clear out the noise or do something with the noise. If not, hand off to a VA or someone to.
So Ryan, so we've discussed focus as one of those things that people have a tough time, getting into or having a tough time to find a clearer vision in their way into focus. Is there any? Give me something else. Give me something that is a fairly typical issue that people have when they're looking for someone to coach them. That they're coming to you and saying, these are the areas, or do they oftentimes not know what areas that they need help on, and you kind of have to help find that for them?
So a little bit of both. And I will say that oftentimes the thing that they come with is not the thing that they need help with.
That's so, right? Isn't that so true about therapy in general also? Yeah,
it's right. Yeah, it's typically not the thing. It's just the symptom and not the root cause.
Yeah.
And most of it, a lot of times, and I struggle with this as well, and I'll give you a practical way to work with it, is the voices in our heads or my head that are self-limiting, self-doubting. I've always been this way. Here's what I believe. Those types of things, your self-talk. And a lot of it prevents people from advancing either their business or advancing as a leader. And one of the ways I do it is people get hung up on losing or being lost. And this is just one of, 10 things. People have a fear of loss and a fear of success and a fear of failure. I just did this not too long ago. Someone gave me this strategy, and that is literally write down all the things you've failed at. And everyone hears fail fast and fail forward, and it feels good, and that's the way to get successful. Some people don't feel that.
Right.
They don't feel that failure is good. But what I did was put it out on a piece of paper, literally writ out all the things that I didn't think I did good at in my whole life. And it was big. Like, it was a massive list. This is fairly...
I'd have a challenge with that list.
I did too. So I'm the kind of guy who I just don't think I quote unquote fail a lot. Like, things that happen to me that I can't control, I don't consider failures. I just sort of move on with them. But as I sat and wrote down things that maybe hung me up, I don't know, were like, maybe I didn't do my best in football, that I could have played harder worked harder in the off season.
See, it's interesting because everything that you're saying leads me to believe that the things that are most challenging to me are those words that I say to myself, not in the projects that I have failed at. It's like my inner self-talk, my self-talk. That's where I get hung all to shit. It's my hesitation is only because of those 6 inches between my ears, and it's almost like I've only failed at things. That's just the vehicle, that's the symptom. The failing project is the symptom. The bigger problem is what was I saying to myself in order to cause that to happen in my life? And I know it sounds like philosophical bullshit, but it really is the reason why most people are held up in life, is that they just don't think positively about themselves, and they get in their own way of success. Do you find that typical, or is it just me that I'm thinking that that's the case for?
You're totally right. And so you're in your head no matter what it is. So I was in a conference in Hawaii, which is, my wife didn't go. I still have a lot of payback for that. and we worked on this.
Yeah.
You have your mind, and that's where your thoughts are. And a lot of them are self-limiting and fear-based. And then you have your heart, when these are some of your feelings are. And then you have this area, depends on your belief system, but some of them the Christians will call it the Holy Spirit. The Hawaiians call it the Na'au. The Japanese call it the Hara. A lot of people will call it their intuition.
Right, okay.
And I know specifically for me, when I'm operating from a place that is my zone of genius, I feel my best. It's very much intuition, and you just feel good about what you're doing. When you sit back and recognize that you're making decisions or having thoughts in your head, like literally in your head, and not from your intuition and where your gut is telling you, that's where these challenges happen. So you just explained it perfectly. I'm in my head. It's between my 6 inches of my head, and these are the things that I'm struggling with. I would venture to guess when you're on stage, especially you, Doug, when you're on stage, you're not operating in your head.
No.
You're operating from your now, as it's called there, your Holy Spirit or your intuition or your gut or your zone of genius or whatever the vernacular you want to use. And so we spent a week just practicing acknowledging a thought and trying to move it around in your body to get in a place of you're making decisions from your gut instinct and your now.
Well, and you just said something that's so amazing, and I never really thought about it until just now. If I could operate a little bit more in my now, then I would roll through projects so much faster, because when I'm up on stage, it's like I can accomplish anything. When this podcast mic is open, although I do give myself a whole bunch of shit, it's a part of, I guess, my persona on whatever that is, my act. It's not an act, it's really me, but it's a part of me. When I'm in my now, I can do anything. It's when I get caught in the minutia of the rest of my day that I start to have those self-limiting doubts creep in, and that's a hard thing to do. But the fact that you said, hey, operate it more in your now on stage, or have that mentality, it's like, wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah, and so this would be my challenge to you, or my challenge to anyone that has this. When you acknowledge that you're in your head and you're working on things that are annoying or whatever that looks like, you are hurting yourself, right? You're not in your zone of genius. You're not putting your best foot forward. You're in your head, and you're having an opportunity cost of what you should be doing and where you should be spending your time. Okay. So I would challenge your mindset of I can't get rid of it, or I can't have someone else help me with it, or whatever that looks like. It's noisy and it takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. I would challenge you to say it's probably costing you more than you really realize, because you're outside of your zone of genius. You're not on the microphone. You're not on the stage. You're not talking to people. And that would be my 53 cents worth.
No, it's totally right. Well, that's why it's Focus 53, right?
That's right. I put that in there. Yeah. Do you like that?
I like how you played right back into that. Let me ask you a couple questions. I don't know if you've heard the show since we've switched over to doing this rapid fire Q&A. I know the recordings are just coming out now, although I've been doing it for the last few months. They're just beginning to air right now. So 5 rapid fire questions. This will help make you even more relatable to the nice guy community, even more so than you already are. Because Ryan, you are truly like you are a guy's guy. I mean, not a guy's guy in a bad way. Your message is so simple and so easy and so laid back that it almost feels like it can't be that easy. It really is that easy, but it is such a challenge to get that easiness through. So I'm going to ask you these 5 questions. All I ask you to do is give me your knee-jerk response to it. 5 questions, 20 seconds each answer, and I'll do my best not to interrupt as you do this. You ready to do that?
Boom, let's do it.
All right, okay, here we go. All right, so be relatable. What do you suck at?
I suck at being impeccable with my word for myself. So sometimes I'll say things like, I'm just a dumb football player and things like that. And it just does not serve me well, because it's really not true. And I find that it's just not being impeccable with my word. Okay,
that's good. Be transparent. How did you pay your bills when you first got going?
I'm a hustler. I'm a grinder. So I haven't, knock on wood, had an issue with paying my bills. Mm-hmm. When I first got started, I had a web design business, and it's eat what you kill. So I was able to kill and provide a great service, and I haven't struggled with that, thankfully and luckily. And sometimes, to be honest with you, Doug, I wish I did, because I think it would light a separate fire underneath my rear that would move me even harder. Right? I
don't ever want that fire to be lit. I go through that every 90 days because I look at my forecast and I'm like, oh shit, And then I know when it's looking like it's going to be challenging from a bills perspective, an outgo as opposed to an income. I'm like, okay, get on. Time to get like you. I'm out there for the kill, in a positive way. I want to bring my services to people positively, but it's challenging because you need that in order to grease the skids.
Totally.
Okay, be confident. What do you do as an entrepreneur that's as good as it gets?
I can see the whole picture for a lot of businesses, and I feel very good in that. And I help see their world different than they would see it normally. And I feel very confident that I'm very good at that. Good one. All right, be humble. What experts did you need to call upon to make shit happen when shit wasn't happening? I wouldn't use past tense. I do this all the time. So I have a coach. His name's Mark Silverman. I have a lot of respect for. I have another coach that I work with. He's more of an old school style guy that I love dearly. His name's Bill Roth. He's a former USFL football team owner, so we have a lot of sports bonds. And then a small network of my friends, although if I'm calling myself out on one thing, I lied to myself for a long time, and Mark helped me realize this, that my closest friends who are detectives and firemen and teachers couldn't help me, quote unquote, in my business. And that was just a lie. They're the most capable of helping me when I allow them to help me and ask them to help me and step out in a place of confidence to have them help me. So I'm starting to have my friends help me with my business, to be honest with you. And it's been awesome. The people that love you the most will help you the most. And I lied to myself for 15 years at this point.
No, so true. The people that are closest to you really can help you. I mean, they can also be the biggest pain in the ass, but they. Last one, be realistic. Where are you going to be in 90 days, and how far do you think that you can see into the future?
So I don't know how far you could see into the future. I'm not a big plan out 10 years kind of guy, but I'm flipping open my book now, 17 days into my freedom journal, and which is 100 days long. So the next 100 days, as I have it documented here, I will have 3 new clients, because that's all I have room for, and I will have the ability to create clients whenever I want. So in terms of other people's business, I will have a pipeline that I will be turning away more business than I will be able to accept. And I've gone through phases of that recently, but I'm selling my web design business, and that'll free up a little more time to fill up this coaching and consulting that I do.
No, it's great, and you are always a valuable guest and a huge friend of the Nice Guy community. I don't even remember how we originally got. Do you remember how we originally got together?
I think it was one of those friends of a friends thing. Like, someone introduced us and we hit it off, and then I think I was on your show and then you were on my show, and we've had a number of conversations since. So
yeah, you're just like a real guy. I mean, it's what's so great about it is, and you introduced me to so many people. Most recently, Peter Shankman. I think you sent me a copy of his book, and then we ended up having him on the show, and we got a huge number of downloads as a result of having him on the show. And you have truly been a friend to the Nice Guy community. So thanks, Ryan, for all you do.
Yeah, no problem. Peter's a great guy, and to be honest with you, what I'm doing is really about that. It's being same as you, and that's why we hit it off so well, is being a relationship person, helping people out, being a nice guy, and just serving. Like, that's all we're doing. We're serving people as best we can, and not being apologetic about it.
No, agreed, totally right. All right, so you're familiar with this part of the show because we ran through this the last time that you were on the show. So get out your cell phone for a second. Do you have your cell phone anywhere near you?
Yeah. Since you asked, I'll say yes, I do. Usually, I tell people to put it away because
Well, yeah, that's okay. If you have it, well, you're actually going to need it in this particular case. So if you have it, that's great. And do you have an iPhone or something inferior? I forget.
I'm definitely an iPhone guy.
All right, cool. And go to your picture app. What's the last photo you took?
Well, you know what? These iPhones, I do love them, but mine has been rebooting since the latest iOS update.
Oh, there was one just last night they wanted me to do, and I'm like, no, I got too many things going on today. I don't want an update right now.
So funny you mentioned that. The last thing I have in my photos here is a photo that I saved off from a lady that I was at that Hawaiian retreat with. Mm-hmm. We spent a lot of time, and it's a saying, or I don't know if it's a poem or what it is, but it starts, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And it goes through, 3 or 4 paragraphs talking about, really harnessing your strength and your power and believing in yourself and those types of things. So that's the last thing I have on my phone. That's
great. If you can, I'd love to include a copy of that on my show notes for today's show. So if you get a moment, Nice Guy community, or what we could do, do you have that posted anywhere on your website? Because I can send people to your website, or either way is fine. Just we'll figure it out together. It'll be in the show notes there somewhere, whether it's on my site or Ryan's site. We'll make sure you have access to the 3 or 4 paragraphs. And last one, text message app. Go to your text messages and tell me the last message you sent and received.
That is to my wife saying, "I love you. Have a great day."
That's great. That is great. And did you get one back? I'm hoping.
She said, "Love you too."
Excellent. All right. So it's true love. That was were you sweating that one out?
I was sweating. I was like,
How many times
we'll do the dishes or something, right? I was waiting for something, but no, we're
How
here.
many times in the course of your day? I don't even know if that number is a number I can even give, because it's just, there's too many. How many? Not too many, but there's many. How many times do you tell your wife you love her in the course of your day?
Up to 7, probably.
Up to 7. That's good. At 7, do you cap out at 7?
I think that's because that's the number of times we talk in a day. Like, when we wake up, and I work from home, so I see her quite a bit, and she doesn't, She doesn't have a traditional job. She's a contractor for the government.
Yeah.
And so I see her probably 7 times. That's why I pulled out the 7.
Yeah, I get it for sure. Well, Ryan, thank you again for being such a great contributor to the show, and we appreciate your relationship and all the connections that you have made for the Nice Guy community. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Doug. It's been great to be on the show, and I appreciate you having me. And thanks. You're a man's man too.
Well, thank you so much. Nice Guy community. Never underestimate the power of nice. Special thanks to Focus 53, Ryan Ayres, and all the great stuff. We'll make sure we pack the show notes filled with pictures and other things, or if we don't, we'll at least tell you where to get them right from the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. I would have gotten away with the 2 if it weren't for you meddling kids.